Okay, so we look at Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus at 21:9. Kill every Nazi you find. A pretty good motto this game follows. Wolfenstein 2 is a lovely continuation of the first game, but this time the story is far more gritty. It digs deep and is an intense experience. Almost as an opposite to gameplay, the story is emotional and scarily feels relatable to real-world events across the globe. A shocking realization when you think just how scary the idea of the Nazis winning World War II is. The gameplay though is as insane as ever. Tons of gore, violence, speed, and pure adrenaline pumping is back and is a joy to play. That said, this isn't completely better than the first game, but before I go on to why I love and don't fully love this game, let's cover the 21:9 support. So the previous game was terrible at supporting us. In fact, it was both terrible at that and had pretty abysmal PC support generally, with tons of FPS issues, screen tearing, among other things. A shame because the gameplay was so fantastic. Thankfully, the developers have listened and it's all been rectified. Literally all of it. There is native 21:9 support, with gameplay correctly showing off more on the sides of the screen at all moments. There is some clipping of objects on the far right and left hand sides of the screen, but this is actually just an FOV slider issue. The game warns you that increasing your FOV level beyond the native 90 will result in some graphical artifacts, but I love the fact that regardless of this potential issue, they still give you the option to go all the way up to 120. Yes, I wish they had developed the game so it could handle the higher FOV levels without problem, but at least they didn't just stop you from living with these very small clipping issues by capping the FOV at 90. A good start. The HUD uses the entire screen space and so do screen effects. Well, that said, there is a single screen effect when you blink slowly. This is 16:9 with the sides cut off, and it really is terrible to look at. Totally ruins the effect. Cutscenes are all 21:9 for both pre-rendered and in-game moments, which is beautiful. Though that said, the pre-rendered ones are 2560x1080, so there are small black bars on the sides of the screen if you're at 3440x1440, but I don't really have a problem with this. It's a million times better than 16:9 with black bars. Menus are sadly 16:9 with black bars, and the same goes for loading screens. Performance-wise, like I said, the devs didn't just sort out the ultra-wide support issue, they clearly worked on making the PC support robust, and robust it is. At 3440x1440, I easily stayed above 60 FPS in every single moment on Uber, even higher than Ultra, everything settings. It's a gorgeous game, but thanks to really just the limited size of each level and what's on screen at any one moment, it by default should run better than anything like AC Origins, which needs to render huge distances. That said, the New Order failed to run well regardless of this default leg up, so it doesn't change the fact that it's lovely this runs so well. There are also a wide range of graphics options to choose from, with actually quite nice in-depth rendering settings to really allow you to make this run well for your system. Much more like the Old Blood DLC rather than the New Order. Sadly though, you will need to restart the game to apply some graphic settings, which is always a big thumbs down from me. General PC support wise, there is full controller and keyboard and mouse support, and immersive surround sound support. I did get a weird bug where the game would crash occasionally when tabbing out, or when I literally was quitting, it would just bring up some dumb error message, but it thankfully was not overly frequent, and it should be patched out soon. So gameplay is a beautifully refined experience over that of the previous game. The basics remain in place. It's fast, snappy, accurate, satisfying combat with tons of blood and gore thrown in, all set within ridiculous superhuman situations. And things are taken a step further this time in many respects. You are now constantly in an exosuit thanks to the wreck that you were left in from the last game. This does mean that you move even faster, speeding around levels. I will say though, at this point, whilst I want to give you a good idea of what this game contains, I'm going to avoid all spoilers, so this will affect what I can talk about. You'll understand when you play the game, because the twists are epic. Difficulty levels are spread out through like 6 different options. I went for what I supposed would be in between normal and hard, as I wanted a bit of a challenge, and even on this setting it was quite difficult. You actually now only regenerate to 50 instead of 100 health thanks to your fragile state, so death really can hit quickly. Do remember though that you can collect more health, but it will slowly fall back down until it hits 50. I will say though, I do wish the emphasis was less on picking up every piece of armor and health available. I really am staring at the floor too much. And yes, whilst the game does pick up some things like armor automatically, it doesn't pick up everything. Like, I don't believe it picks up health after you hit 50, so you manually have to pick up the extra health to get the temporary boost. So the resulting effect is you don't trust the game to pick up anything, and you manually look to pick everything up. It's a bit annoying. Weapon choice is nicely completely different to anything from the last game. Nothing remains exactly the same. Of course, some things have similarities, but yeah, there's no duplicates, which of course is thanks to this being set in the 60s, just a little bit after the first game. A nice touch to make weapon use a bit deeper is the ability to now add modifications to weapons. If you find mods on the ground, you can then add them to your weapons to add things like larger magazines, different bullet physics, suppressors, etc. It's always lovely to have that little extra customization potential. It's not massive, but I like it. There is also a very big customization set of abilities later down the line. Again, I'm not saying any more on this, so I don't want to spoil anything, but suffice it to say, gameplay remains consistently fresh. You always feel like you have something new to play with. Okay, I now must touch on the one gripe I have, the only place that I feel this falls behind the first game in. The new Colossus simply fails to deliver on the level design visuals. Yes, I love the flying airship at the start, and there are moments throughout that you do go, oh damn. But the first game felt like each stage was very unique and stood out. You didn't feel like they would have been seen in your typical first-person shooter. They felt like a Wolfenstein level. And in this, I feel far too many moments lacked that extra flair, that imagination. It's not that the levels were boring or dull or not even well designed, they just lacked that final touch that I loved from the first game. So the story, like I said, is far more serious than the New Order. It really is quite heavy and emotional at times. Racism, white supremacy, anti-Semitism, and family abuse is just part of the driving force behind the story that unfolds. It depicts disgusting opinions and actions of those with power to deprive and damage those below them, simply from a physical standpoint. It really does anger and make you sad watching this, and it works so well to flesh out Blazkowicz as a human. He is vulnerable in this game, but you understand where his rage, his anger, his drives come from. He is brought from what could easily be a boring, bland, uninteresting first-person shooter character with no face at all, to a guy you really feel a connection with. You feel you understand who he is, why he is what he is. This is massively promoted not only through cutscenes, but with you travelling back to see his home he grew up in under the tyranny of an abusive father. I honestly loved this story. And again, like it's been pointed out, the parallels to real life, both here in the UK, Europe, and in the USA at the moment, is horrendous. And really, for a first-person shooter game, this actually should make you think about real-world events, how you treat people. Stories can have real meaning behind them, regardless of the medium that they're conveyed in. Anyway, all in all, this will have you on the edge of your seat a lot. It's full of twists, gameplay originality, and is so worth playing. If you like first-person shooters, you will love this. Just make sure you like blood and gore, because this has a brilliant amount of it. Whilst not better than the first game in every aspect, it's still a better game overall and a worthy sequel. I'm going to give it a WAF score of 4, a huge step up from the last game's native state, so you'll have a blast on your ultra-wide screen. I hope that gives you some information on how the game runs at 21:9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For any of the games at 21:9, head over to my channel or the WAF website. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to support the channel, the links to my Patreon page are in the description. Amazon affiliate links are there too. See you later.
Dossier Grace wanted. Guess that's my cue. Long walk to the state building.